Hello, this is Jessica Pettit, and who do I have the pleasure of talking to today?
This is Benjamin Morrison.
Excellent. Morris and I, like some of the other interviews, are good friends, and he is a rock star in the diversity and inclusion realm. So I'm super excited to get to spend time with you today. Thank you so much, Morris.
No, thank you. It's an honor to be with you. And thank you for the work that you're doing, Jess. A lot of people, individuals, and organizations throughout the world are benefiting from your heart.
Well,
you have a great heart, so thank you.
It takes a village, and you're welcome. Okay, so let's start off with two open-ended ideas that are rolling around in my head. I want to know what your take on them is.
Okay.
The first one is the concept of diversity dividend. So typically this shows up, and like I'm sure it happens with you too, is that people want to know what's the bottom line of doing diversity. When I say diversity dividend, what does it mean to you?
It's not good. So you know, when you say diversity dividend, it goes to a place in my heart that says a lot of people want to give diversity the cognitive space in their head and in their heart. They want to make it a priority because of the payoff. See, the problem in our country right now, specifically in America, is that we have several fractures that need healed, that haven't been healed for a long time. And now, as we talk about the importance of diversity with my customers, we attach it back to innovation. Mm-hmm. Why? Because what does every customer and organization want? We want to be profitable. We want to be successful. Well, I'm selling the idea of my version of the diversity dividend is innovation. Mm-hmm. If you make diversity a priority within your organization, you're going to have diversity of thought, right? Diversity of leadership, diversity of connection, which is the most important. See, organizations, and I know this with my HR background, coming from human resources, I remember when the conversation was that HR people, we needed to have a seat at the table with leaders so that we can influence the strategy of organizations. Well, now we don't have to do that anymore. Now, top shelf leaders and organizations don't make any decisions without their HR stewards present because they don't want to make any mistakes. But also it's because the idea of human capital as an advantage is now within eyesight and earsight of senior leaders. They know that if you were Nike and your innovation was around shoes, you can't rest on the laurels that you can be Nike anymore. And that marketplace is always going to be kind to you because of companies like Under Armour and other companies that are popping up, right? So what's it all go back to? It all goes back to human capital. So the diversity dividend of human capital is, do we have enough people in the room that are different so we can get diverse ideas so we can lead to innovation? That's the real dividend. Yeah. But senior leaders don't want to talk about the dividend unless you can first prove to them what the cost is going to be and why they should invest in it. And I got to tell them that's backwards thinking. You first must do it because it's the right thing to do and it can help heal humanity, and then it'll lead to innovation.
Well, that's a good segue to the other big idea thing, which is about human capital, and that is asterisks, other duties assigned. So there's a pattern showing up that sometimes these are things people get like voluntold to do and they're not rewarded and it leads to burnout. And sometimes asterisks, other duties assigned, are things you volunteer to do for self-care or to build community. In your own professional career, in your work, how did asterisks, other duties assigned show up for you?
Well, it showed up before I started professionally. And that's why my answer to this is going to be much different than what you've heard. I love asterisks, other duties as assigned. You know why? Because that's reality. That's life. I'm raising my kids to know that life is all about the asterisk and the other things that will be assigned. And we call them detours. I'm here at the University of Florida right now with some of the top business students in the world. And my main message to them is about disruption, because my book is about disruption that's coming out, and how the greatest leaders and the greatest organizations all replay their timestamp. And when they replay their success and they look back 30 years later, they think about they would have never innovated and created that product in that space over there if they weren't forced to do it, right? And so they were forced to do it because something happened in the marketplace that they weren't ready for and they hated it. But Jess, that's where asterisk, other duties as assigned comes in. I was orphaned in New York City. I lost my parents there. Then I had a second set of parents who raised me. I was orphaned again as a teenager. I had to learn right away that life was about the disruptions, and I had to learn how to celebrate those disruptions, right? Mm-hmm. And once I did that, that shifted to a different mindset where I realized this is normal. So then I started in HR. and trying to influence human capital decisions. And how do we leverage human capital? Well, people complain about the asterisks, other duties as assigned, because what professionals have said is, well, I was hired to do these 5 things, okay? But then I spend most of my time over here doing these 15 things that are under that bucket, all other duties as assigned. And then we say, welcome to the organization, or welcome to the family. And here's my message for the people who don't like that. This is for you, Jess. This is for me. This is for my wife. This is for anybody who has any job to do in the world. If you don't like the asterisk, all duties as assigned, other duties as assigned, you need to ask yourself if that's a good fit for you. Mm-hmm. Because that's where the conversation of self-care comes in. Mm-hmm. Don't forget, there are people who die on homemade boats and rafts and ships every single day, just trying to float across the seas to get to our country. Why? Because this is a place where if you don't have a victim mentality, and if you have a work ethic, and if you don't expect anyone to give you anything, you can literally take ownership of your faith. Of your fate. You can take ownership.
Or your faith, right? Both.
Or your faith or anything. That's right. Jesus said faith. That's right, baby. You can take ownership. So my point there is, the organizations need to do a better job when it comes to employee burnout because of all the things we're piling on them. Of course they do. And leaders, we are trying our best to send that message and equip leaders with how to do that. But in the absence of that happening overnight, because that's not going to happen overnight, employees need to understand that your self-care is up to you. Mm-hmm. Well, which is the reason why you don't work for another company right now, and why you do what you do as a business owner and as a speaker and as an influencer. And it's the exact reason why I do, because at some point we had to manage our self-care differently and vote with our feet.
Yeah. Well, and that's actually a very good segue to what I think your work is, how it differentiates from other folks, is around owning it and focus and self-care and things like that. Can you share a little bit about maybe your new book or new things that you're doing? How are you doing?
Well, it's great. My first book was called Overnight Success. And the only reason I titled it that is because there's no such thing as overnight success yet. However, our world is addicted to instant results. And, literary agents and publishers around the world argued with me. They said, what's your first book? It's got to be your story. You have such a story. And I was like, yeah, but I live my life on stage. I don't need to tell my story in a book. I don't want to write a book that's about me. And they said, well, we disagree because your name's not LeBron James and you're not Jay-Z. I was like, huh? They say your clients overseas have no idea who you are, so they must know your story. Mm-hmm. I said, okay, I'll tell a little bit of it. But I want to solve the problem of instant gratification for organizations and individuals who I think can't stay focused today. And they don't know how to push through and change the culture of their organizations, of their teams, or of their families. They can't change their culture because they're too busy being reactive to what's going on around them. Smartphones, right? Because of smartphones, that's completely shifted everything. And that's caused everyone to have the most powerful information in their hand accessible on a daily basis. Yet, Siri may be able to give you anything that you want, Jessica. We may be able to Google anything, but it doesn't mean that we can Google the most important things in our life. Like, how do I build a stronger relationship with my mother because we're just in an awkward season right now and we don't talk as much? Or what about my sister? Or what about the fact that Thanksgiving is coming up and I have to have those awkward family conversations? You can't Google that, right? So my book, Overnight Success, is about the fact that I want people to stay connected to their vision of who they are and not get lost in this culture because they don't get everything overnight. But my next book that's coming out in January, it's called Disrupt Yourself. And the reason why we did that is because now, after working with CEOs and HR leaders and supply chain leaders around the world, what's everything worried about, Jess? Everyone's worried about disruption and the idea that their business or their comfort or the money or what they're producing or their cushy lives may be disrupted. Well, it is being disrupted. But you know what, Jess? I also speak to kids. And I'm also the guy who does the funerals at eulogies for kids who take their own life at age 13 or 14. Mm-hmm. Why? Because their life was disrupted by an app called Snapchat or Instagram. And because of technology, they're constantly comparing themselves one swipe at a time to the world around them. Mm-hmm. And kids aren't the only ones who do it. Organizations do it too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
with all of your experience, are you ready for my favorite questions?
Yeah.
Favorite question number 1, what have you changed your mind about lately?
Ooh, this is good.
That's what you're expecting, right? I mean, come on.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
The whole world's going to see this video, and I don't care. Can I tell you what I've changed my mind about lately?
Sure.
I realized that the only way to grow is you have to have really honest conversation with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been forced as a man of color in this country, as a proud African-American in this country, to be part of some really tough conversations over the past few years around Black Lives Matter, young brothers getting shot. We've got Colin Kaepernick, who took a knee. And so I'm forced in these conversations between Democrats and Republicans and this and that and everybody else and this and that. And I know the answer. So let me tell you, the answer, Jessica, is real simple. People need to start having conversations with people that are different than them. And when they do that, they need to open their minds and their hearts to consider that there are many other people with different stories. Mm-hmm. That's the fracture in our country. We all think we have it right. So what have I changed my mind about lately? In the past year, I've had some honest conversations with myself about my views. And you know what I realized? My parents who died in New York City, my mother was white and my father was black. I was raised by distant relatives in a strong black community. I'm a proud African-American. Some people say, well, Morris, you're biracial. What about your mother's side of your family? Don't you claim that? Yeah, I know I'm biracial, but I haven't got a chance to go through life being biracial. Mm-hmm. I go through life as an African-American male. I get followed by police sometimes, and I get followed every time I walk into a store. It doesn't matter how much money I have. It doesn't matter if they saw the car I pulled up in outside. They don't care about any of that. It's just that that's the reality of the world. So I've had to ask myself, well, how do I feel about race relations? You know what I've had to change my mind about? Having a white mother who's no longer with us, and my wife is white, and I have biracial kids. I've had to be really honest about how I feel about people who look different than me, Jessica. Mm-hmm. And I realized I got a lot of bias. Mm-hmm. And I still got a lot of pent up stuff in my heart for people who even look like you, Jessica. You understand that? Mm-hmm. And as a Christian, my faith has led me to be really honest and say, Morris, are you really loving everybody like you should? Mm-hmm. And I've had some tough mirror talk conversations in the past year about that. And I'm growing. You know why I'm growing? Because I'm still having a conversation with myself. And as long as the dialogue is there with you in your heart, you're still growing. You don't have to change overnight. But I've been changing my mind about a lot of things, Jessica.
Yeah, that's great. Here's a twist to that. What do you absolutely know?
Oh, what am I certain of? Oh, that's good. That's an Oprah type of question right there. Oprah be asking that. What are you certain of? What do I absolutely know? I know that when you give someone your shoulders in a conversation, along with your eyes, I know it's the most powerful form of intimacy that you can ever express to any human being, no matter if you even speak the same language, no matter what country you go to, no matter if you're in America, Europe, Canada, Europe, no matter where you go. If you turn and you put your phone down and you stop looking at your phone and you actually turn and put your phone down and you give someone your shoulders and your eye contact, and you just open your mouth a little bit, even when they're talking and you're not, if you just open your mouth like this, it shows that you're interested in that person. Mm-hmm. And I know that there's nothing more encouraging and nothing more empowering to anyone in your physical space than to give them your shoulders, your eyes, and an open mouth and open ears and an open heart, because that shows that they are relevant. It shows that they matter. And every human being in this world, all they really want to, they just want to be heard. They want to be understood, and they want to know that they have some sense of place in the world. And you know why I give everyone that respect who's in my private space? Because I know what it's like as a man of color walking through this world and feeling invisible, and people looking right past me, and people dismissing me just because of how I look. And look at me, I'm handsome. I'm one of the good. Look at me. I mean, how do you not? Hold on, look at this. How do you ignore this face? Okay. But I've had a broken heart several times, and I decided I'm never going to let somebody else feel like people have made me feel. That's what I know, and that's what I'm certain of.
Excellent. So this is a very hard thing to tell a passionate keynoter, but we have just a few minutes left, and we have lightning round to go.
Go.
So you gave me 3 random numbers. I'm going to ask you a question, and you have to answer it as short, succinct, and quickly as possible. You ready to go?
Yep.
Okay. First, they are either easy, intermediate, or deep. First one, number 25, intermediate. Share a time when you felt you made a very important decision.
Oh, it was easy. Walking away from corporate America 8 years ago, March 18th, 2011, I walked away from a big 6-figure salary to speak for a living and to really try to make a difference in this world. It's the best decision I've ever made in my life.
May 14th, 2006.
You know your date. She knows her date. She knows her date. She's the beast. Go ahead. Lightning round. Let's do it.
Number 31, intermediate. What is your go-to, quote, cook to impress meal, and how did you learn to make it?
That's good. Oh, that's good. Go to, cook to impress meal. How did I learn to make it? I haven't cooked in a long time. I gotta make it. What is it? Matter of fact, I don't even remember last time I made the meal. I made a meal.
Well, there you go. There's your answer.
I don't know. I don't even know. Back in the day, it was my spaghetti back in the day. It was my little sweet and sour chicken that I would bake in the oven back in the day. It would be my pot roast that I would do overnight, all night, 12 hours back in the day. But I ain't made it since March 18th, 2011, because that's when I started working for a living.
For the record, my husband won me with a grilled cheese sandwich.
Ooh, damn.
No, it's a really good grilled cheese sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
You
last
must have
one.
liked his cheese. Mm-hmm.
Number 50 is deep, so buckle up. What 3 words would you most like said about you?
Real, insecure, and grateful.
That's wonderful. Morris, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. If people want to learn more about you, where should they go? How should they do it?
Morrison.com. It's real simple. It's all easy. All my Instagram stuff there, Facebook, LinkedIn, all there. Promo videos, it's all there. Just go to Morrison.com. And with a name like Morris Morrison, if they forget that, then we need to check they.
Thank you so much.
I was naked when I started this call, but I put clothes on. So they lucky. They almost got the naked version of me today. Because remember, I said my 3 words are real.
It might have done something for viewership, so thank you very much.